Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
How is everyone?
Good.
All right. Welcome to day 2. Today's Tuesday for week 1. And here's our agenda and objectives. We're going to talk about strategies for reading the questions. That's in the writing portion. After that, we're going to learn strategies for marking up passages. We started this conversation yesterday. And then the final objective is to collaboratively review the homework and the diagnostic test. Everyone took the diagnostic test yesterday, right? Do you have it with you? No? Okay.
Yeah. I think I have it.
You have it?
Yeah.
Others don't have it?
I have it.
Not your answer sheet.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you know your score yet or no?
I don't really know.
Okay. Well, we're going to find out the score, and we're going to talk about the entire test if we have time. Okay? Because it's really important. So, quick review about yesterday. Since yesterday, we talked about the general format of the SAT. And we discussed what to expect and some basic strategies. So, since we're starting with writing for this section, let's talk about that. First of all, how many passages? Everyone?
4.
4. Good. How many questions?
44.
All right, 44. For an average of how many questions per passage?
11.
11. Good. And how much time?
13.
35.
Bingo. 35 minutes. Good, Sylvie. Okay. 35 minutes for the writing section. I know it's confusing because the reading one is very similar, but the writing is 35 minutes. So, on average, how many minutes do we have per passage?
8 minutes.
Yeah, about 8 or 9, okay? And remember we talked about how much time we should read versus how much time we should answer questions. Is it half and half? Exactly half and half?
No.
No, always spend more time with what?
Answer.
Answering. Okay, always spend more time answering because that's where you get the points. But it's important to also spend enough time to read, right? So if you have about 8 or 9 minutes, maybe like 3 minutes or so, 4 minutes read, and then 5 or 6 minutes answer questions. Okay? All right, good. So let's take our writing strategies book and open to page 269. By the way, I have some more questions to review. So there are 4 passages. They're always the same topics. Do you remember some of the topics?
Social science.
Okay, science is 1.
Humanity.
Humanities.
Career.
I'm sorry?
Career.
Career. Very good.
Social
No.
science.
And social science. Yeah, you guys said that. Very good. Now, should you read them all in order? Trick question. Should you read them in order?
No.
No.
It's up to you. That's why it's a trick question, right? Remember we said if you don't like certain topics, you can skip that. You can skip those and move on and come back. But yeah, probably, like I told you, you're going to answer or you're going to attempt all the passages. So it's okay to just go in order. Sometimes I think of it like, if I do the one I don't like first, then I can reward myself later, right? I like to do the things I don't want to do first, so then later I can enjoy it. Now it's up to you. If you don't really, if you can't finish on time and you're always feeling rushed, then it is probably better to do the easy one first, because all the points are the same. Remember that. Just because it's hard, it doesn't mean you get more points. So you don't want to lose points on easy questions or easy passages that are for you. All right? Good. And I think this one's obvious, but one passage at a time. Remember? Answer all the questions for one passage before you read the next one, so you don't get confused. Okay. Do we have to know outside knowledge? Yes or no? Like, do you have to know all the biology and chemistry and history? No, you don't have to know any of that, right? It's just reading the text and finding the answers in the text. Okay. Who can tell the class what active reading is? Active reading. We talked about it a lot yesterday. What do you remember? What's active reading?
Mark.
Right? Okay. So, somebody marking up the passage, right? Or marking up the text. With what? We talked about 3 different things to mark up. Three reasons. It's okay to look back at your notes. This is page 264.
That's you about the main points.
Good. Chanja said the main idea, right? When you see the main idea of a paragraph or a text, mark it, because you're probably going to need to know that. What's the second thing? Especially for the writing test. Remember, the writing test is different than the reading because of the second 2 things. What's the second reason why you should mark up, or the second thing you should mark up? It's right there. You should have marked it. We marked up our book yesterday, remember? On page 264. Do you have a 1, 2, and 3? I remember I told you to write it down.
Where you know it could sound good.
Yes, thank you. See, I know you knew that. I knew you guys knew that. You're just being too shy, right? We gotta write it up a little bit. So when a sentence sounds weird and you know it could sound better, mark it. You don't have to fix it right there, but just put a little mark, a circle. Okay? So sentence error, I'll just say. And then the third thing, when we talked about, I don't know why I keep remembering this, because less and fewer, we have fewer than 9 minutes, a little bit. We have fewer than 9 minutes per passage. People confuse that word fewer with less. Remember, less is for uncountable, fewer is for countable. So that is an example of the third thing. What is it?
Identify words or phrases.
Yeah, so commonly confused words or phrases. Okay? Very good. And there's one word we said that starts with an A that is really good for active reading. In general, what are we doing when you actively read? Yes, everyone say it. Say it loud.
Anticipate.
All right. You notice we're on camera right now. Okay. You guys we're being. Maybe you shouldn't have done it, but anticipate. All right. So remember my quote: if you don't stand for something, you'll. Kevin, nice and loud.
You'll fall for it.
Yes, you have to stand for something. You have to have some idea, right? Then be proactive, not passive. Be an active reader. Okay, let's go to some new stuff. Page 269. How about a voluntary this morning to start this first paragraph? And all right, so thank you, Sungmin. Don't ask me if you should keep going. I'll say stop. But if you're getting tired, then just call on somebody else. Anyone, remember. Okay, so you don't have to ask me if you want to keep going. Thank you. Nice and loud.
Reading the questions. While you are reading the passage, you will come across underlined portions with question numbers next to them. As we saw in section 1, these numbers signal that the question will ask you to revise the underlined section. You might need to revise words, phrases, or whole sentences in the passage. Depending on what part of the passage the question is asking about, you may want to pick certain questions or skip others. Pick and skip. You do not have to answer the questions in the order that they appear. The most efficient way to go through each passage is to answer some questions as soon as you read them and save others until you have finished the paragraph or passage. Most questions about parts of speech, punctuation, and sentence combination can be answered right after you read the appropriate sentence. When a word or short phrase is underlined in a sentence, you may be able to correct it as you read it. Try to anticipate the correct answer and then compare it to the available revisions. However, for other questions, you'll need to read other sentences in the paragraph to make your answer choice. For example, you may be asked to select the best version of a word to match the author's tone. You may also be asked to add, delete, or move sentences within a paragraph. Wait to answer these questions until after you have read the whole paragraph. Finally, some questions are related to the passage as a whole. For example, a question may ask you to insert new information to support the passage's main idea or additional evidence to support a conclusion. Wait to answer these questions until after you have read the whole passage.
Thank you. That's great. So I marked up my page. Remember, marking up is not just on the test, but on this manual it's good to mark up, right? And I don't want you to actually read what I wrote here, but can you anticipate what do you think is the main point of this first paragraph? Did you guys mark anything? No? If not, let's do it right now. Someone did a wonderful job reading. You shouldn't have to reread it. We've already heard it, right? So what's the main concept here? You guys are reading it again. Don't read it again. Just tell me what stands out. What words stand out? Let's just try that. What's an important word in this paragraph? Here's a hint. Parts of speech is one of the important things. Because they're saying, if you have a question that is, if you have an underlined portion that involves parts of speech, you should probably do that question first because it's easy. You don't have to read the context, the whole passage. So what else is an important word? Thank you, punctuation, right after that, right? That's the second kind of question. What's the third kind of question?
Sentence combination.
Everyone.
Sentence combination.
All right. And then the very end of that paragraph says, try to anticipate the correct answer. Do you think that's important? Is that important? Yeah, that's at the whole topic of this entire section about active reading and really about this whole writing section. Okay, anticipate. Don't look at the answer choices. You fix it first, and you think of your own answer first. Earlier I said you don't have to fix it on the spot, but if you can fix it on the spot, then do it. Yesterday when I took the diagnostic too. By the way, I didn't just go home and relax. I took the entire thing just like you. So I'm excited to talk about it later because I know every single passage and every single question. And I actually corrected it and thought about it. And what I noticed, because I told you that the writing was hard for me to finish on time, I improved on the very first time or the second time I did it. Part of that was because I read the entire passage and I started correcting it as I went. I didn't even look at the questions because I already anticipated, oh, there's going to be a question on this because how do I know? How do you know there's going to be a question on it? Because it's underlined, right? And there's a number next to it. So you already know if there's underlined portion, and you can fix it, that's going to be your answer. So I highly recommend that everyone start doing that. Okay? Alright. The second paragraph that someone read, the next one, says, however, for other questions, blah, blah, blah. Don't read it again. Look up, look up, look up. If the first paragraph was about which kinds of questions to do first, what do you think this next paragraph is talking about? This is the stuff you do first, so what do you think this stuff is? Just use your common sense. Ah, so you're looking down, I see you. Don't look down. Use your common sense. Since we've already forgotten everything we just read. This paragraph is, what do you do first? What do you think this paragraph is?
What do you do second?
Thank you. Tanya, was that difficult?
No.
Come on, you guys are smart kids, right? I'm not trying to trick you. This is about what to do second. And by the way, what kind of question do you do second? Do you do second? They gave an example. Can you find it? Quickly. Say it. Now you can look.
Make your answer choice.
Huh?
Make your answer choice.
Well, yeah, but what kind of question?
You may be asked to select the best version of
Underline best version of a word. What else might you be asked? What else? Another task? Just underline the keywords. Come on.
Author's tone.
Huh?
Author's tone.
Okay. That kind of goes with best version of a word to match the author's tone. Thank you. Everyone, add, delete, move sentences. Underline that. That is something that you'll be asked to do, but don't do that first because those require you to read more and read the whole passage sometimes. Okay? Alright, third paragraph. Here's a hint. Don't look. Don't look. These are the things you do first. These are the things you do second. What's this going to be?
last mother.
Ah, what should you do at the very end, right? Now look and tell me the exact kind of questions that you should do at the end. There is an example.
To insert new information.
Good man. I think you all knew that, but you just didn't say it. Everyone underline insert new information. You could even underline more to support the passage's main idea. There's a second example. Or, do you notice that word or? That little word or? Huh? Just like yesterday we talked about but, and we even talked about and. These little words, they're called conjunctions and prepositions sometimes, right? They are so little, but they are very important because they separate things that are either common or different, or just like two different examples. In this case, I think the word or is important because you can have a question that you need to insert information to support the main idea, or what else?
Additional.
Yeah, additional evidence right there to support a conclusion. So have the habit of noticing these little words. Okay? Circle the word or. And what have we looked at in the paragraph here that are introducing examples? What words do you read often before an example? Say it again. Well, it's for example, right? When someone starts by saying, for example, blah, 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 is that going to be a main idea or a detail? Yeah, it's a detail, always, okay? So, if you don't know what the main idea is, where can you usually find it? You know, this is so important, I'm going to write it down for everyone to see. For example, blah, blah, blah. this is going to be detailed, right? Well, what if you zoned out while you're reading and you don't know what the main idea is? Where could you look? Huh?
First sentence.
Should we look past it? Before, right? Whatever comes before, for example, is probably the main topic, because that's why they're saying for example. You don't just come out and say, for example, I am more wide awake and alert, and I feel that my mind is working better in the morning. What? That doesn't make sense. But what if I said, I prefer morning to night? For example, in the morning I feel fresh and my mind is working better, blah, blah, blah. That makes a little more sense, right? So the main idea in that example was that I prefer morning to night. Or I'm a morning person, not an evening person. By the way, since we are reading, it's pretty early still, who is a morning person? Raise your hand. None of us, right? That's what I thought. Actually, I'm not much of a morning person, but I got 2 coffees today. One little one wasn't enough, okay, so I got 2. So, does that mean you guys are all night people, or you just kind of like in between? In between?
Yeah.
Who's the night person? Like, you stay up late no matter what? Yeah. You can't go to bed before, like, I don't know, 2. Is that you? What time did you go to bed last night? 12? That's pretty decent.
Time change.
Oh, did you come from another area? Time code?
Yeah, last week.
Last week?
Yeah.
Oh, just last week you came from Virginia? Oh, wow. That's crazy. So you're still jet lagged. Okay. Yeah, it's like 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. All right. Anyways, so these are the key words. For example, and, but, or. Look for them. Understand. They separate ideas. Okay? All right, let's move on. I want you to take actually a minute or 2 minutes to read that example, and then notice that there are on the side some comments. If you can fix them right away, then do it. All right, so let's take 2 minutes. Don't worry if you haven't had time to actually answer them. Important thing here is that you recognize that, number one, they suggest. That's a grammar question, which means, should we do that first, middle, or last? Tell me.
First.
Yeah, you can do that right away, I should say, right? So that's the point with number one. Number two is one of those words, actually it's a longer word,